David had always been practical. He didn't need much: a roof over his head, a bed to sleep in, and some quiet. After all, he had moved to the city for a fresh start. The apartment was old and a bit run down, but it was cheap, and that was all that mattered. It wasn't much, but it was his, or so he thought. His first night passed quietly. The apartment creaked with the sounds of the city: pipes groaning, footsteps in the hallway, the occasional car passing by outside. It was all normal, but normal, David would soon learn, was fleeting. It wasn't until the next morning that he noticed it. The chair that had been facing the window when he fell asleep was now turned slightly, just enough to face the bed. He stared at it for a moment, brushing it off. Maybe he had moved it without thinking. Maybe it wasn't important. But a seed of doubt had been planted. David returned the chair to its place, convincing himself it was nothing. People forget things all the time. The mind plays tricks. But that night, as he fell asleep, the unease lingered. What other tricks might his mind be playing? The second morning, the changes were more obvious. The small table beside the bed, where he had left his phone, was now against the far wall. The chair, again, was facing the bed. But this time, something else was wrong. The closet door, which he distinctly remembered closing the night before, was now slightly ajar. Things were moving, changing. Not much, but enough for him to notice. Enough to make him question his own memory. He replayed his movements from the night before, trying to figure out if he had somehow done this without realizing it. But deep down, a gnawing fear began to take hold. Something wasn't right. By the third day, the anxiety had taken root. David couldn't focus. The thought of the apartment consumed him. He spent the day replaying the changes over and over in his head, questioning every detail, doubting his own mind. What if he was sleepwalking? What if someone had been in the apartment, moving things while he slept? He didn't want to believe it, but the nagging suspicion wouldn't go away. The bed was wrong. It had moved, just enough to notice. And the chair, it was in the same position again, turned towards him as if it had been watching him sleep. His heart raced, pounding in his chest. Was it him? Was it the apartment? Or was there someone else? The changes were no longer small. The bed was now on the opposite side of the room. The table had moved from one corner to the next. He checked the locks again and again. Everything was secure. No one could have entered. He hadn't moved anything in his sleep, but the changes kept happening. The room was becoming something else. Every night he fought it. He blocked the door. He locked the windows. He tried to stop the changes. But every morning the room would mock him, shifting just enough to drive him deeper into madness. The apartment was alive, playing a cruel game he couldn't win. By the time David realized the truth, it was too late. The room had consumed him. It wasn't just furniture moving, it was reality itself. The walls, the floor, the very air seemed to shift around him, bending his perception, warping his mind. There was no escape, no explanation. The room had claimed him. And so, David was lost, trapped in a place where reality shifted with each passing night, where nothing stayed the same for long, alone in a room that was never truly his. They say some rooms remember. They shift and change, reflecting the minds of those who live within. But in places like these, the rooms don't just change. They change you.